Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, and my profoundest apologies. I am not the voice that you heard introducing last week. This Bill is back. Welcome back to episode 73 of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. Today is December 21st, 2020. I am Bill, and I am joined, as always, by my solstitial co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome, guys.
Man, that is a good one.
I thought you'd like that one.
You can only use it once a year, though. Or is it twice?
Twice a year.
Yeah.
Twice. Oh, because, yeah.
Well, if it happens to fall on the right day.
Yes.
Now, before we get started, we do want to remind our listeners, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. That means if there is something in the Cosmere you haven't read and are worried about hearing spoilers, you might want to go read those first, then come back and join the discussion. That said, tonight the chance of spoilers is much lower than usual since we're actually going to be talking about the state of the Sanderson, which is less likely to involve spoilers for specific books and more likely to revolve around what Brandon is working on. For those of you who listen to podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we'd like to remind you that it's possible for our listeners to interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/InnkeepersTable. We record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and take an active part of the discussion. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. Even a couple bucks per episode really would help us out as we work to improve the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show, the Cosmere, and honestly, a lot of other subjects with other listeners. It's a great community. We talk about honestly everything except politics and religion. And you will also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and other good stuff. This week, we specifically want to shout out to our patron, Rolf R. Thank you for being a patron and just being awesome. Guys.
Busy day today?
There was a post made a few days ago where there were announcements made and things discussed. And
yes.
Oh, guys, I love the state of the Sanderson. It's one of my favorite things of the year. Koloss Head-Munching Day is one of the greatest holidays ever.
Especially for patrons who get Koloss Head-Munching Day cards.
Which are in the mail. They are in the mail.
And they're literally in the mail. They're not like the check is in the mail. They've been posted.
Yes.
So
and they were hand drawn with love.
And stamped with a puppy paw print stamp.
Oh, did you get
that?
signed
by
I made a stamp. So in each of those, there was like one or two that I didn't press it right, but the rest of them, I think in the future I will have a nice little stamp for all future cards. So that actually is her footprint.
Yeah. So those are signed by all three hosts and Cosmere Puppy.
Yes.
So, guys, should we dive on in?
Seems wise.
Okay. So first off, let's talk about mainframe.
What? This was out of nowhere.
Well,
yeah.
he's been talking about stuff like this, but and he mentioned in the post that these are things that he's been working on for years.
I was unaware of it.
Okay, I didn't know he was going into going to actually create his own production company around it.
Yeah.
But for example, he's already come out with the original.
The original, which I still haven't listened to.
Which I have.
I need to.
And it's in my library. It's downloaded on my phone, but I haven't listened to it yet because there were other things coming out around the same time that I was focusing on. So I'm really interested in checking that one out. But
all I know is the original, it must be one of the most difficult things to do a Google search for. Maybe only Stephen King's It is more difficult to Google search for.
Maybe.
You can just search Brandon Sanderson, the original,
The original.
I'm sure there's
Then
no
you just
other
had to-
originals.
But in quotes, the original. Unquote. Close quote.
Post.
But the thing that I really like is it's not just audio books, it's audio dramas. So I think one of the original concepts that this was based around was Legion. Because with Legion, he wrote that book kind of as a pitch for a TV show. And he's been trying to shop it around to a bunch of different studios and wasn't able to do that. And so finally he's like, well, what if we did like old-timey radio shows? Not old-timey, but based on, the same style. As these
If
old
memory serves me correct, wasn't that like something he and his brother were sort of pitching to each other?
Possibly, I may have missed that part of it.
I don't know.
I think it was sort of something that he brought up and mentioned when talking about the what are they called in Wax and Wayne Era 2?
Oh.
Oh, the broadsheets?
Yeah, the broadsheets that all this stuff with oh my good Elemancer Jack, how it's like this pulpy audio drama style.
Oh, so good.
Which is funny because we made the mention to that to Isaac when he was on our show. We're like, just do the audio dramas. That could be the next stretch goal for the next time you do a leather battle. Yeah, he sort of grinned. And it's just like
awkwardly, and now we're like, oh, well then.
I didn't catch that. There was an awkward one there.
As soon as I saw audio dramas, I'm just like, that sly son of a gun.
But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm trying, and then he's also working on like companion pieces to The Reckoners and to Skyward.
Yeah, little novella type things because apparently I still haven't read the second Skyward. And
it's very different from the first.
It sounds like I remember he made comments about how he gets very focused on just Spencer.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Compared to all the other characters that were there at the beginning, and it is kind of interesting to get the side views. So that's kind of where he's doing. That's what part of the point of them is so you get the extra bits, the extra goodies.
I like that how he talks about how they're each sort of different angles on things, just sort of figuring out what works. He says, the Originals is a completely new story. The Reckoners novellas are a continuation of a series I finished. The Legion series is a Hollywood-style adaptation using screenwriters instead of novelists. And the Skyward tie-ins are unique in that Jancy and he are working very closely on a story that's currently in progress. So because he hasn't finished Skyward, and they're working on companion stuff together. So I just think this is really an interesting concept that he's working on here. Mm-hmm. And then he mentions that he eventually wants to have a film production company. I'm just like, Brandon, you're too ambitious.
There's going to be Disney, and then there's going to be Sanderson.
Don't fly too close to the sun.
He's not ambitious enough. What are you talking about?
But we need him to write.
Maybe we can see if we can get a tie-in, and we'll be the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Film or Cosmere Productions.
I don't know if I have enough on my resume.
Probably not going to happen. Yeah. We have to remind our listeners that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not directly affiliated with Dragonsteel Productions. Oh man.
Yet, yeah.
Look, we're waiting for the buyout, Brandon.
Yeah. Hey.
And then of course Brandon moves into an interesting topic for everyone: his 2020.
Yes.
Which is always bizarre.
Well, I mean, because he's been working on so much stuff. At the very, very end of 2019, we had the Brandon Watch, where he was finishing up the first draft of Rhythm of War. But then he had to come in and finish up. How many more drafts? 4 more drafts? He does 5 drafts at a time.
Yeah, I
for
think
each
so. Yeah.
book, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
And so, oh gosh. But yeah, so that means that he's going to start writing Stormlight 5 on January 1st, 2022. So just over a year he starts writing that one. And then he takes a big break. And I'm actually excited about the break time, because in the break time he's going to start working on stuff that he's sort of let sit for a long time, including before he writes Stormlight 5, he's going to finish all the last Wax and Wayne book.
Mm-hmm.
And then between Stormlight 5 and Stormlight 6, we're getting Era 3.
It's just too long for me to get my Wax and Wayne.
Yeah, because he has at the end of it in part 10 of the post, he says fall 2021 is Skyward 3, spring 2022 is Alcatraz 6, fall 2022 is Wax and Wayne, spring is summer 2023 is Skyward 4, and fall 2023 is Stormlight 5.
Yeah, so let's jump ahead to kind of what he's planning.
Yeah.
Let's see, what part was that?
That's part 10.
Part 4 is what I'm talking about.
Or part 4? Oh, part 4. All the parts. Oh, yeah, because he does updates on primary, secondary, and then minor projects. So it's just kind of in order of size-ish. But he had Rhythm of War, which he talked about how it was it's completed. So, and we're all enjoying it.
But I also love that we're getting Wax and Wayne 4, which we've been waiting on for a while.
Yeah.
Particularly since Wax and Wayne 2 and 3 came out within a month and a half of each other. So
that was crazy, yeah. And it sounds like
Secret History was right after that.
now this isn't something that he mentioned in the State of the Sanderson, but one of the things I'm most excited about with Wax, or not with Wax and Wayne, but with Mistborn Era 3, is we're getting Wax and Wayne comics.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm just like, and my headcanon is that the first one was drawn by Wayne. He's just
of course,
and it's drawn in just like the most childish scrawl, like stick figures, and then somebody found it and said, "Ooh, let's do something with this."
Well, let's hope it's the stick figures, because we also know sometimes he draws a little risque, according to.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Didn't he say that he was going to try and write them all in one go, like you did with Mistborn, the Era one?
Yes, and I love that.
So they can just do it. And then he has plenty of time to edit them.
It'll just it'll flow like a single narrative.
Well, I mean, after the Stormlight books, I'm sure everything else feels like it's easy mode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of course, he's also planning to. He has already finished the final Alcatraz book, which I've been waiting on for a while.
I need to catch up on those.
And this is kind of frustrating. He says, like, he's talked about a few different box sets. This is one of my pet peeves. My pet peeves is when they have box sets for series that are not complete. I'm just like, you do not get a box set, in my opinion, until the series is done. Because who wants a box set of books 1, 2, and 3 of a 7-book or 10-book series? I'm sorry. I was raging about this with Harry Potter stuff, and I'll rage about it when he does it with Stormlight, because I'm just, no, this is not right.
We have like my husband's read Wheel of Time, and we have like a couple box like of 3s, just because that's what was available, and so that's what we bought.
Started on Wheel of Time.
I still haven't read past partway through book 2, so I would really accept not an
maybe a box set of the 3 that Brandon did, because
they're a little bit
different. But no, that's just no. See, we're not entirely in Dragonsteel's pocket.
Yet again, Brandon.
I didn't say we're not willing to be. I said we're not.
I just don't want to close down any potential revenue streams.
So have y'all read Dark One?
No,
I haven't yet, but I'm very excited for the note there on it.
Which one?
The one about them trying to do like a television series for it.
Oh, that's already been in the process. That's been in the process.
I didn't know, but I don't think he said the name behind it before, had he?
Yeah.
He had. Okay, I missed that J. Michael Straczynski was behind it, and this has got me so excited. A lot of people may not know who he is. He's not exactly a household name. J. Michael Straczynski. He was one of the lead writers on Thor. But the thing that I most know him for was he was one of the writers for the original The Real Ghostbusters cartoon, and he's the writer on like all the good episodes. I grew up with this stuff, so I'm obsessed with this guy. And I saw that name. I'm just like, Jordan, you haven't read Dark One yet. I don't care. In.
No, he announced this months ago, and I actually messaged you about it.
I missed the J. Michael Straczynski part. Somehow.
You need to pay attention.
I shove a lot of stuff into short-term memory that probably shouldn't go there.
Mm-hmm.
All one has to do is look at my room right because I had to scramble to pack to get traveling down to Texas. And
yeah.
I remember. You can tell that I shove things into short-term responsibilities that I shouldn't.
Indeed.
I go through phases like that too, where it's like piles of things to finish, and then I break down and finish all of them, and then I build them up again.
I'm just glad that you left a path in the chaos through your room into the laundry room, because that's...
Hey,
you need access.
I'm nothing
like
if
that.
Not courteous.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I've got hiccups. Sorry, guys.
So the other thing that he mentioned, he was talking about Songs of the Dead, and I think his latest draft is 100% on his website, which
wait, I'm not done with Dark One yet.
You're not? Okay.
No, because
One.
That's the thing.
You sure? Because the hiccups seem to suggest that you are.
Hush you. So a lot of people have been kind of disappointed with the way that White Sand went. And so I know a lot of people are a little bit skeptical when it comes to graphic novels, Brandon Sanderson graphic novels. The difference between Dark One and White Sand is that Dark One was written specifically to be a graphic novel. And if you read it, it's absolutely incredibly done. I haven't finished it yet, mainly because I got distracted by a lot of stuff while I was first reading it. It's on my bookshelf now, though. I want to pull it out and start reading again.
It looks really pretty.
Stunning.
I didn't get to see it inside, though.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so he's planning to finish 3. He's going to, again, have 3 graphic novels. The thing that I didn't realize when I first ordered it is it's hardback. Mm-hmm. And so it's like really, really nicely done, and just I can't recommend it enough. So it's not Cosmere. It was originally going to be Cosmere. That's the other thing that I thought was interesting. Yes, the concept that he had for it, he was originally planning to have a YA Cosmere book. Again, the concept is basically Harry Potter chosen person, but instead of the main character being Harry Potter, the main character is Voldemort. And, there's a prophecy that he's going to be the great evil one who destroys the world.
Which is not usually what you want to hear.
It starts off on Earth.
And then he gets transported to the fantasy world or something.
I'll just say it's not all on Earth. I'll leave it at that. No spoilers beyond that.
Yeah, I haven't read it, so I'm just guessing.
We're finally going to bring Rithmatist into the Cosmere.
I think there actually has been talk about that about Rithmatist and Dark One being in in a multiverse. I could be completely wrong on that. Of course, now we're going to get emails saying Bill, you're a moron. But yeah, yes. So yeah, that's there. And then there's also talk about creating a White Sand omnibus with all 3 versions, which is really good because I know a lot of people are having trouble getting the earlier
ones.
Now that all 3 are out, people want to get it, and they're not able to get book 1, and so they're just sort of stuck.
And that was something that Isaac talked to us about.
Yeah, he did mention that when he was here.
Was that
he also mentioned that they're going to kind of redo it and fix a lot of the problems.
Well, because there was a lot of weird continuity problems that got introduced with it, randomly have a transistor radio in there, and you're just
catch that.
There was some random crap. It was just
it was strange. Okay, so Amy, you were talking about Songs of the Dead, though.
Yes, so I've heard he's done posts about it a couple times. I think at least last year for sure, and maybe the year before. But he's doing it with, who was he doing it with? I don't remember the guy's name. But it's not Cosmere, but it's rock culture, or I'm not saying the right words.
Oh,
what
yeah,
is it called?
Metal.
That's right. Yeah, and I just find that intriguing. I don't know much about metalhead culture, but it sounds cool. And he was trying to make sure that, because the co-author, who I'm still trying to find, he's metalhead, or he knows people who are metalhead, I think is what has been.
All I know is he needs to partner with Jack Black.
Yep.
Peter. What is Peter's last name? I
don't remember. He's posted about it in another post, but it's not mentioned in here.
So anyway, but that's
and
cool.
Just for clarity, this is the piece that Brandon's been talking about for years. It used to be called Death by Pizza.
That's right, yeah. And now it's
where
Sons of the
you
Dead.
had a pizza delivery guy, necromancer.
So
and then he kind of got rid of the whole pizza delivery aspect of it.
now it's heavy metal singer necromancer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun.
Much more normal.
And so it's just, I like the idea of him branching out. I also like the idea of him collaborating with other authors so he can still focus on the Cosmere.
Yeah.
And that's
Which
the part
he
I'm
talked
most
about
excited.
a lot last. Mm-hmm. Well, because it means we get more Brandon Sanderson without getting less Brandon Sanderson.
Yep.
Which is a sentence some people might not be able to follow, but it makes perfect sense. If you really
It
think
totally
about it.
makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. He also said he's adding a 30-plus page prologue for
To
White Sand.
Yeah, for White Sand.
And it looks like it's going to focus on Bayon and Chris, just based on the art he posted.
Yeah, the little bit, one of the sketches.
Which will be good because the first one does sort of drop you right into the middle of it, which Brandon's
Yeah.
books do tend to do. But because of the fact that we lose a lot of the context of what's going on in White Sands, and without the ability to just sort of, all right, I'm going to now dial it back, it's I think it'll gain something from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I didn't appreciate how much. This is an aside. So on the trip down to Texas, my dad flew out to help me drive down, which thank goodness because we ran into a snowstorm and it was a nightmare. No, I got him started on Mistborn. We did the audiobook on the way down, and it starts off with just Kelsier on the farm, and it was one of these things. He's like, "So how's he doing this?" I'm like, "It'll get explained."
There's explanations.
And I didn't really appreciate the fact that Brandon really does love to sort of throw us into the middle of the action.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, in medias res, he loves.
Well, especially with the magic systems, he loves to just throw us in the middle of it. Here's a taste of what will happen, but I'm not going to explain it all the way.
Well, that's sort of like
clever man.
One of the but not rules, but one of the tips for video game design that you and I have talked about this, I think, is let them do the cool thing immediately.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, it's just like, oh, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so you kind of throw them in and you give them a taste. You don't tell them why it all works, but have it planned out in the background and make sure you follow your rules. And just people see stuff happening going, okay, whoa, what's happening? This is cool. Tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think with the comic book, because we couldn't have the second half of that where he explains everything really thoroughly, I think it does suffer a little bit from that.
Well, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to him doing the revision of the prose novel, he says.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if he's going to release that as what he's been calling Sanderson Curiosities, like Way of Kings Prime, which was released as part of the Way of Kings Leatherbound Kickstarter this year. He's planning on doing other things like that. And so he says, someday I might do a revision of the original prose novel, which is one of the only ones from my unpublished years that is good enough with some work to release. If I do so, I'll update it to match the graphic novel in terms of characters and narrative. So that sounds like he might actually release a prose version of it, rather than just calling it, White Sand Prime, like he's been doing with, like he did with Way of Kings. It sounds like that actually might come out as a canon novel.
Which would be nice, yeah.
Which I know a lot of people are wanting.
Yeah.
And
because just graphic novels just aren't their thing.
Yeah, I mean, there is an aspect to White Sand magic is so visual. And I think I would have had a hard time picturing it quite the same way as it does in the graphic novel. So I think having read the graphic novels and then being able to read a prose one, it'll make it easier for me to picture the magic on how things are being manipulated. Because sand is weird. Sand is sand. So
Absolutely. Plus, with as we're seeing the White Sand actually show up in other Cosmere books lately, it matters
bigger.
more.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons he's probably doing it, is he wants to get this information into a broader,
Audience, yeah.
audience. so that people aren't just like, okay, wait, what's this sand?
What?
What's going
There's
on?
sand?
And so,
Yeah.
okay, there's one in here. It says Soul Burner.
What?
And all
I
he's got
know.
is just still a cool secret going on here, but I can't say anything. I'm just like,
Why
Brandon, you
say
smug.
anything at all? You
Ow. The next one made me really excited too. The
Apocalypse Guard?
Guard. Yes.
This one, I'm having trouble getting excited about it. I'm sure once it comes out, I'm gonna love it and be absolutely obsessed.
Did you
But-
read the little preview chapter thing that was out?
I did, and it didn't quite grab me.
Maybe it was the previous teenage girl in me that liked it, but I don't know.
I don't know.
It just I think that and the fact that it just seems like such a cool concept to me to have people who are bopping around between worlds and stopping cosmic level events, and then we have the girl who gets the coffee, who's having to witness it, and then ends up on a planet or something. Like we don't know exactly what happens, but she ends up getting in on the action.
Right.
So that's just kind of
Well,
fun.
and again, this is him and it's Dan Wells, right?
Yes, Dan
They're
Wells,
working
I
on
think.
it, and I love how he's mentioned a few times when the two of them get together, things get weird.
Weird.
And so,
And I remember being kind of worried because the last I'd heard previous to this was he's like, something isn't working, so we're gonna just have to poke it again and see if we can fix it. And I'm like, no, don't tell me it's dying, because they were getting ready to move forward and like get it published, but then it got weird. Something didn't work, so it seems they worked it out. So,
But then it
That's
didn't
good.
die.
yes,
yeah. Now, if you look at
It
the
is
other small
on.
projects that he's working on,
I know.
or he's planning, I find it interesting. It looks like he really wants to do more YA stuff, but he also doesn't want to deviate from the Cosmere. So he's saying, okay, here's a YA novel that's Cosmere. Here's another YA novel that's Cosmere. So he says,
Yeah.
Adamant, which I can't remember what that is.
I don't remember what that was either. Do you remember, Jordan?
I
I
don't
do
recall.
Not.
Then an untitled Threnody novel, which we're all looking forward to.
Yes.
Now, he's said
It's-
before this doesn't have anything to do with Silence herself.
I know,
But-
which is
but-
sad. But I'm sure there's other cool people on Threnody too.
And
Because
who
No,
knows?
it
Matt
turns
Chamber-
out those were the only ones.
Well, everything else is just boring.
Just boring.
It doesn't work. It's
Nothing
it's
exciting.
Really incredible. Like the evil, it turns out, was just boredom.
I'm really hoping we get a nice Naj, a nice look at Naj. I don't know if he's going to be a main character or not, but I hope that we at least see something about him because he's from Trinity.
It'd be nice.
Well, and
then-
now that we know that Isaac is Naj,
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, he mentions a Six of the Dusk sequel. Have y'all read the excerpt that he posted and shared?
I have not.
You
I
need
heard.
to check it out.
Where was it that was it just on Brandon? I don't know, was it on his website or on tour or?
I don't.
'Cause I remember he did a reading.
he did a reading, and so
That's what I was like. I listened to the reading. Yeah.
So if you've listened to the reading, that's
And
it.
that was crazy.
You can also read it on the what's it called? Where all the words are branded. The Arcanum, I think is.
Okay.
I think they have it there as well. I'm not positive
Probably.
on that though. I could be wrong about that. But he read it as part of the release party for
the
Rhythm of
Memoriam.
War.
Yeah.
And
It was cool.
there is stuff happening in there.
Yeah.
He's got an Emperor's Soul sequel coming out because he wasn't planning on expanding it, but he did say he had a story come to mind about Shy. So we've got that coming as well. The Silence Divine.
Awesome.
The Silence Divine, which is about
Isn't that Ashen?
Ashen. Yeah, I was like
Oh,
race.
okay.
No, it's not race. It's Ashen. So it's the disease-based magic system
Which would be interesting.
where you get a disease, but along
it
with the
gives you
disease, you
powers?
get magic powers. And so there are people who will like make sure like live sick a certain so that they can actually do different
magic.
stuff.
It's very similar to, real life diseases in that, when I get, a fever like that, I get these amazing, visions into the future or, maybe psychotic breaks. I don't know.
Is the only cure more cowbell?
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Cowbell.
Now
Always
here,
love
of course,
cowbell.
secret standalone Cosmere book, Dadgummit Brandon. And then that wacky YA Cosmere book with magic kites.
I want to know. Magic kites. I need to know. What is up with that?
And then Kingmaker, which is a First of the Sun YA novel not involving Sixth. I personally think that Kingmaker is just sort of a nudge at Pat Rothfuss, who has King Killer. But who knows? And then Aether of Night. Have either of y'all read Aether of Night?
No,
What if it turns out Kingmaker is just Brandon writing a fanfic in Patrick Rothfuss' universe?
Oh, goodness, no.
He has written fanfic in other authors' universes before. I mean, he finished.
I haven't read
Aether
Aether of Night yet. I think you sent me a copy, but I don't.
Yeah, so Aether of
I
Night
haven't read it yet.
is one of those early written books that he hasn't finished, but he wants to expand the magic system, I think. And so, who knows, and it is a cool magic system, so I'm looking forward to it. We've seen Aether show up in Stormlight because there was the wonderful laundress who actually got it out of what's his name's Marais's shirt. But Aether
kept her job.
I'm excited to see more come from that because it's a really cool concept. I don't want to go into it too much because that's one of the ones that he asks people not to discuss outside of. That's one you have to actually ask for the book from. One of them is from the 17th Shard and one of them is from the newsletter. I think 17th Shard has distribution of Aether of Night. So if you want that, go look for it on their website. They'll then you post in a certain channel and they'll respond and get it to you, I believe. And yeah, so the Six of the Dusk sequel though, I am
It's gonna be exciting.
It's one of those, as I was listening, he said things and I just stopped, my jaw dropped and I said, "What?"
What? Yeah, I feel sad that I didn't pick up as many details on who was who as much as I should have. But it was just too excited.
There's a Stormlight connection. That's all I'll say. Okay, so films, television, video games.
Yeah, he said it seemed like more than anything, there was not much progress just because it's weird.
Well, 2020's been nuts, and filming and production stuff has kind of
been hard,
grinded to a standstill.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that there hasn't been a lot of progress on this aspect. He has spoken several times that the plan right now with Mistborn, he's writing the screenplay himself, and the plan is to have a movie for the first book, a series or a mini-series for the second book, and then another movie for the third book, which I personally feel is kind of backwards. Just because, what do you, Jordan? You shook your head.
No, it is kind of backwards, just sort of.
Because I feel like there's a lot more to see and do in the first book and the third book.
With the first book, you're setting up all the magic, so it feels like I would want more time to get them, and have episodes to do it compared to being limited to just a movie. Now
that said, I'm looking at it. I mean, the second book does have a lot more political intrigue and stuff like that going on, which you may need more time to go into with a visual, with a film screen, with a screen production of it.
I think it does lend itself a little bit better in that format than the first. Okay. The thing is, I just want a series of all of them is the main issue.
Just do series the whole way. It'll be fine.
I'll retract my statement that it's backwards then. Now, he has said that he plans for there to be a Stormlight series eventually. And unfortunately for a lot of people I've seen commenting all over the place, it's likely not going to be animated. I think it would work well as animation, but his point about it not reaching as broad of an audience is a valid point.
There are a lot of people who don't like animated stuff, even though they probably would be fine with it if they tried it.
Well, and what it'll do is it'll play to the current audience, and he wants to do the screen productions to expand to an even wider audience, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
and so,
but I want it animated. Does that matter?
Well, if you look around on YouTube, there are people who've drawn clips of Mistborn. So I'm sure there's somebody out there who's drawing or has drawn clips of Stormlight. So if you're out there doing that, keep doing it. Because it's awesome.
Maybe he'll relent.
Maybe.
And he said, and the frustrating thing, though, he's talking about Mistborn, the rest of the Cosmere. He says, I still have all of these rights and have not yet sold them, though I've been working on a screenplay for Mistborn myself and have had some interesting opportunities behind the scenes. Nothing I can announce yet. And I'm just like, everything, nothing I can announce yet. I'm just like, Brandon, you tease. You're
Don't
teasing
tease
us. And I didn't realize what he announced with Alcatraz is that Stuart Beatty, I think, the writer of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, is adapting Alcatraz for an animated series.
That's
kind of neat.
Yeah.
I don't know who Gaumont is, but I'm excited to see that. And have either of y'all read the Alcatraz books?
I've read the first few. I don't think I've read like 4 and on.
Okay, five is the last one that came out.
Okay. Because I know I have a couple of them, but I haven't read.
And you haven't read any of them, have you, Jordan?
I have not yet, no.
Okay. I personally think that they will be interested in an animated format. I think they can work really well.
From what I remember of them, I think that would work better than trying to figure out the budget for how to do it, live action.
Is there any sort of chance of something like a series of unfortunate events style live action?
Like a
Netflix?
Netflix?
Like that? Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that. So
Yeah.
I just
know.
mean like as a viewer, like would you be interested in something like that?
It'd be okay. It could be.
Yeah.
It could work well.
There are
Honest-
some Netflix ones that have come out really well and other ones that have
It's true.
kind of flopped, but it's probably also, those have been stories I probably wouldn't have been as interested in anyway, so.
But I think that this could work really well. One of the problems that Alcatraz had when it first came out was Scholastic. The cover that Scholastic chose for it made it basically look like a Harry Potter clone.
It did.
Because it's this kid with messy hair and a pair of glasses looking at the screen, and it's just like...
I think I
You
have
can-
the first version over
I do
here.
too.
If you have,
I'm pretty sure that they were kind of banking on that. The covers,
like, oh,
the
look.
covers for the original covers are weird,
Yeah, they're a little bit strange.
and so I'm actually excited because he's coming out with a full redo. They're completely revamping it. It was originally Alcatraz versus the blank, so it was Alcatraz versus the evil librarians, Alcatraz versus the Scrivener's Bones, Alcatraz versus the Shattered Lens, Alcatraz versus the Knights of Crystallia, and then there was nothing for a while. And when Book 5 came out, they kind of redid everything, and so the series is now Alcatraz versus the evil librarians, as is the first book, and then they just changed it to the Scrivener's Bones.
Oh, okay.
The Shattered Lens, the Knights of Crystallia, and the something talent. I can't remember what the...
I don't remember either.
But anyway, the Dark Talent. And I think it did a really good job of distinguishing itself, because a lot of people started reading it thinking, oh, this is more Harry Potter. And it's completely different. It's a very, very different style of humor than Brandon's ever done with any of his stuff. And
Isn't it a little more absurdist?
Yes, a lot of absurdist humor, to the point where in one of the books, the chapter numbers just start changing. So you have like chapter 24601 or chapter 3.14, whatever pi extends out to. And so it gets into some weird stuff, but it's funny. And it's a very different style of humor. There were parts of it where I was like, okay, Brandon, you're trying too hard. And there were parts where I was laughing out loud. So
I need to try harder with my kids to read it to them again.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's targeted at, it's middle grade. So it's a step younger than young adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it for my nephew, the first book.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how that plays out. His mother liked Mistborn, so clearly this is one-to-one.
Yes.
I'm excited to get my sister-in-law into Mistborn. She's read Elantris and loved it, and she was asking, should I read Stormlight first or should I read Mistborn? I was like, Mistborn first.
Then
like,
you go small.
If she
then
likes
you go big.
Elantris, it's just like, no, you're in. You're in the rest
Oh,
of the
no,
way.
she's
You're
in.
good.
She's in.
Yeah.
But my opinion, Mistborn first.
Yeah.
Because there are things in other books later on that you notice that you recognize because you read Mistborn.
Yeah, I was kind of sad that I just had to end up explaining Mistborn Arrow 1 to my mom, because she was just like, I tried, and she's like, and I just couldn't. I got she just couldn't finish it.
And I have friends who
sad.
haven't finished it, and I have friends who've devoured. So it's just interesting.
The discerning friends, you mean?
Let's talk about picture books, because I'm excited about picture books.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, because Isaac has already done his picture book. Mm-hmm. And so within Team Dragonsteel, they do have some experience on this now. And I think that's really, really cool. And it sounds like he wants to do a series of books of Hoid stories. And I am here for it.
Oh, yes.
I just wonder how that works. Like, part of the problem anytime he goes into an actual viewpoint of Hoid, the problem is it's very much, he talked about this, the problem with Kelsier's chapters in the first Mistborn, in that he has to keep sort of riding around the fact that Kelsier knows what the plan is, but he can't reveal the plan because otherwise it takes the punch out of it.
Surprise, yeah.
And I just think Hoid would be, I just imagined writing Hoid would be this challenge to not, sort of jerry-rig things so that you don't reveal anything that before it's time. So it's one of those things. I'm interested. Heavens, yes, I'm interested. It's just like, oh, that sounds difficult to me. Mm-hmm. But it's Brandon, so we're gonna give him all the leeway he wants.
Yeah, I'm just ready for Hoid stuff. I'm always ready for Hoid stuff. And
I'm kind of glad that he's had issues with other artwork in the other books, like we said with Alcatraz covers, where they didn't do the art as good as they wanted or as good as he wanted, and so with these picture books, he's going to make sure. I'm confident that he will make sure that the art is good the whole way through with a picture book, especially.
And I'm not sure if the picture books are going to be like Dragonsteel originals or if they're going to be with a specific publication company.
But I trust that he's big enough that he has enough clout to say, no, we're going to get the good artist, not the one who's going to pick some random picture.
Brandon is building an empire.
Yeah. Well, but that's
and we are on
the
board.
biggest takeaway of this entire state of the Sanderson is how much he's bringing in-house so that he has control of the situation. Mm-hmm. And just dealing with all these other, all these publishing companies, I think has just taught him that, no, it's worth the time to invest in these things to make sure that we control what goes on. I'm willing to bet he, looking at the rights thing and how, he's seen how Wheel of Time's been treated at certain times. Heavens knows the rights issues with Ender's Game.
Oh, boy.
And things like that. I think it's just made him, he gets to stand on the shoulders of giants because, we've seen, how this evolves. And the other thing is everything's moving so fast technologically that it's very smart to hold on to your own stuff because you don't know what the landscape's going to look like in 5 to 10 years. It could be completely different. Like Hollywood's going to be completely different in 5 to 10 years than it is
Hollywood's
now.
going to be completely different next year just because of the past year we've had.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so holding, being able to do things in-house insulates yourself from having to overreact. Mm-hmm.
Being beholden to
bureaucracy.
Anyone. You can just say, no, this is what I want to do.
We're doing it that way.
And fortunately, Brandon has got, like you said, Brandon's got enough clout now where he can say, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But the other thing I like, though, is that he's self-aware enough that he's like, there are certain things I will dig my heels on. There are other things that I will walk away from.
Yeah.
And so because he's willing to, because he's willing to walk away from certain things, when he digs his heels in, they say, okay, this actually is a big deal.
This matters, yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta choose your battles.
Okay, so this next section is one of my favorite things. Now,
Why
there
would
wasn't
that
really
be,
any
Bill?
news for me in this because I have my nose deep into what's going on with board games and crafty games and stuff like that. But a lot of these are more announcements of things that happened over the past year, but they're really cool. They got the Stormlight Call to Adventure game out, which if you haven't checked out the Stormlight Call to Adventure game, there is so much art in there that is absolutely gorgeous. Now, warning, there are spoilers through Oathbringer in the art sometimes, so be careful. A lot of people if you don't know what's going on, and you don't, then you probably won't pick up on some of the spoilers. But if you've read like halfway through, you may pick up on some spoilers. Or if you have the kind of memory where just seeing that
Makes you go, oh.
Be careful. But like I said, the art is absolutely stunning. And the game itself, I haven't had a chance to play the game myself because I don't have anybody to play with. And so, because Jordan locks himself in, Jordan, is really, really focused on the work that he does. So,
paying Bill rent.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You put it that way. I have to. Dadgummit. I wanted to be petty.
That's right. I have used your Hode ownership against you.
Then there was the Steel Slayer expansion to the Reckoners game.
Which
the
I
next thing.
kickstarted it full, and I'm actually getting additional games in addition to because I have a problem, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon.
You can quit whenever you want. It's okay, Bill.
Yeah, but I don't want. So, but yeah, so there's an expansion to the Reckoners game, and that expansion actually covers the second and third book. So it's not just an expansion for the second book and an expansion for the third. So I think that's actually kind of complete once it comes out. I'm
Seems in chat, Texas Blade has the same problem as you, so you could can start an anonymous organization.
Yeah.
Texas Blade, you and me.
Kickstarter's anonymous.
KSA.
And then, so for those of you who watched us play Mistborn House War a few months ago, they are coming out with an expansion called Mistborn: The Siege of Luthadel. Now, the cool thing about this is that Jordan and I actually were part of a team that play tested. There were several groups of people who play tested, but I think that our names are actually going to be in the credits in the rule book, which is kind of fun. That's available for pre-order. And then the one thing that I'm really, 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 really excited for, and waiting for, and have been excited for about a year now, is the metal dice are coming out soon. Which
you can't see it, but yeah.
Yeah, Amy's got hers. We got to do a little preview. We were on we did a video on the Kickstarter for that.
So there.
And so I'm excited for the full sets of those to come because they're so cool.
They're pretty.
If you buy them, just remember, mention us.
Now, this is kind of neat. Forged Foam.
Can I talk
is
about
a company.
this?
You go for this. You do
so
this.
So when I went to Dragonsteel, and I felt weird because I had too many things in my arms and I had my kids with me, which made it weird. But they actually had the preliminary ones, so they didn't have the pretty paint on them, but they had the actual foam shard blades and a spear, and they weren't quite as tall as I would have wanted them for the spear, but it's a reasonable length for a spear compared to the giant length that I have for mine, and it was pretty cool.
It'll be Amy sized. It'll be like a regular Kaladin spear for Amy.
Actually, no, I did the math with my husband's help, and I think I had to ask my dad too because Josh was doing something else for a little bit when I was trying to do it, and I used a picture of Kaladin that was some actual art, and then used that person and then my height to figure out how tall the spear needed to be, and it's 6 foot something for the spear to be tall enough, and I am 5'3". It's insane.
So think of it as this is a short spear for combat with a shield.
So it's a good sized spear, but it's just not 6 foot. I think it's probably 5 something.
So it's not the monster sized spear that you wanted.
But it's still very big.
Okay, fair enough.
And it would be good for LARPers, I'm sure. I've never LARPed, but I'm assuming it would work pretty well for LARPing, especially because I think Forged Foam does those kind of.
Okay,
but it's not just spears.
Clarification: how do you forge foam?
You do heat seal foam, if you want it to take paint well. So that's sort of forging, right?
I mean, when I say forge, I tend to think hitting with something with a hammer. But
I'm thinking maybe falsifying. Like forgery.
Oh.
Or something.
So Shy's chained up in the back and they're using her to make foam weapons.
Exactly.
I just feel like they could use her better. I don't know.
I lost
Convincing
my hat.
Stone that it's gold or something.
I don't know. I think I may give up on the hat.
Maybe she doesn't know enough about gold, but she's an expert on foam.
Foam for some reason.
But
I don't know. I think I'm giving
I
up
love
on
that
hat.
he's So we did this, and we made these, and they're awesome, and they're out of stock. They're currently out of stock, but we're hoping they'll be available again soon.
Yeah.
Soulcast foam, absolutely.
If you want to have a cool looking foam spear, when they come back in stock, it'd be
maybe
awesome.
that's what happens is they make it out of foam, and then it's forged into something else.
Yeah, there you go.
I like the Soulcast foam idea, though. And then, of course, all of they start talking about some of the goodies from the Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. They're being very cagey about the back of the wit coin.
Yeah, they said that there's some hard thing that needed to be figured out, but that's why it's taking so long.
But like when they announced the wit coin as part of the Kickstarter, they only showed the front.
Yeah.
And so we still haven't seen the back, and so I'm just like, you're being cagey. Stop building up, because I can only be disappointed now.
Can only take too much. So much pressure.
Bill's going to see the other side of the coin, and suddenly it's going to be like, it makes sense. The world makes sense now.
But yeah, he also mentioned that there's somebody doing a handcrafted wooden coin display, and I did actually order all 10 coins for myself, and so I may have to pre-order that.
I was really glad that I saw the link to it, because I think I'd seen the coin display, and I was like, oh no, is somebody trying to rip him off with, like using his designs? But I'm pretty sure that if he's posting
it's
about
probably
it,
him.
It's probably him who sanctioned it, and that made me go, oh, okay, because
Brandon's ripping himself off now.
Yeah, that's fine.
All other authors are no longer to his standards, so now he has to play 3D chess against himself.
Yes.
I like that he gave a little bit of promo for all the other cool little goodies that are going around, because he's got a lot of. I like that Brandon's made deals with these vendors who make, and they're not like what's the cookie cutter assembly line. That's the thing.
Yeah. They're not mass produced. Well, they're
not uber mass produced. They're crafted.
Yes.
And I like that he makes deals with them, and then it promotes them. I just like that he promotes small artists like that.
So actually, when he talked about, I had never heard of Shire Post Mint, but when I kind of Googled when I was trying to finish up my Vin cosplay, actually, I got some of their coins. So they're pretty. They're actually really nice. I did get them, yeah. And so nice. I guess I will go ahead and try and post pictures of them, because I did have some with my photo shoot taken of just the coins.
So are they the clips?
I got a boxing and a clip, I think.
Oh, so one of each.
Like,
cool.
So I got 4 because I'm that extra. But I have 2 of them that are dirty and 2 that are clean.
Nice. Oh, that's right, because they do both.
Yeah. So I was like,
when you say dirty, I'm gonna what do you mean?
Like
they're ash stained kind of.
Okay,
so I mean, it made them look more authentic compared to like ones that have just come out of the mint versus ones that have been around. So. So they're very pretty.
Okay, so there's
they were really hard to take pictures of, though.
What was that?
It was really hard to take pictures, though, because I was trying to drop them, so it looked like I was throwing coins down, but it's really hard to time it with coins. So.
Oh, man.
Picture fun.
So what did y'all think of all of the translation updates?
I will admit, I kind of skimmed.
I did, too.
Because I don't speak French or German or Italian. Or Polish, and I'm sure it is super exciting things, and for those listeners who do read those things, I'm so happy for you that you get updates in here, but it was a little harder to stay focused.
And other ones do.
No, this is the first time.
This was new. He said that he starts at the beginning and says, I've been considering doing it, and so he said, so I asked for people to give me stuff to put in there, and apparently there were a lot of people who were like, oh yes, here's we were more than happy to give you stuff to put in your update, your State of the Sanderson.
It's one of those things that it's obviously, we live here in the States. He's from the States. It makes it nice and easy for us. But at the same time, the localization process, to bring up Harry Potter again, like the fact that they had to make sure that, and sorry, this is spoilers for Harry Potter, that the Voldemort anagram had to work with Tom Marvolo's name. In every single language.
Tom Riddle.
You're Tom Riddle, sorry.
Tom Marvolo Riddle.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, but just the fact that they did that, And it just made me appreciate just how complicated the localization process is.
Yeah.
Well, particularly when you're dealing with a character like Hoyd who loves puns, or Hoyd and Shallan. Mm-hmm. You know, and so because puns don't translate easily.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work well to be like, oh, it's a funny, I made a joke, and you're like, I don't get the joke. It
Right.
doesn't.
Well, it's like someone who likes to read localized manga because I don't speak Japanese.
You don't?
No,
What?
I don't. There's so many
Nani?
times
Non
where they're
desu ne.
like in the margins, there'll be an asterisk that says, that explains, because the characters are reacting in a humorous way or something. And it's like, this is a pun because this word and this word sound almost exactly the same. So this character's mumbling.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
there's lots of good little notes that they'll put in really good manga translations.
But I can't imagine how hard that process is. And the fact that he's getting so many languages shows the quality of his writing and shows that there's a desire for this stuff. And, on my stream, one of my bigger viewers, they're from Germany, and, they can speak English just fine, but, asking them to read fiction in it, that's a big
tougher.
ask. But being able to be like, oh, hey, there's going to be a German version of this thing.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Like there's a couple of Spanish-speaking natives in our Discord,
Our patrons, yeah.
who actually prefer to read the English. And I think it's because there are those certain little things. So it's really interesting just sort of to see how this works. I like that he's reached out though to each of them and gave them a bit of a voice. It's a great opportunity. It's a great place for that kind of announcement.
Because there was like Germany, Poland, France, Italy, and Spain. Yep.
Well, and heck, you only have to look at our download locations to see that Brandon has a huge mass appeal outside of the English-speaking nations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And okay, so his projected schedule. This is the what
Yes.
a lot of people tune in for the state of the Sanderson. So he just lists out a schedule. So fall 2021 is Skyward 3, and this is releases, I believe, correct?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
when
Yeah, so
they're
this is the
supposed
release
to be
schedule.
released.
Fall 2021 is Skyward 3, and the working title for that right now is Nowhere. Spring 2022 is Alcatraz 6. Fall 2022 is Wax and Wane 4, which means we should hopefully be getting 2 books then in 2022, which I love that we get multiple books from Brandon each year. That still blows me away. Spring or summer of 2023 is Skyward 4, and then fall 2023 is Stormlight 5. And he's, after that, it's time for him to say, okay, where is this going? Because, and I think after Stormlight 5, that's a good spot to stop and say,
to
okay,
pause and
sort of get your bearings and figure out what is possible, what is not possible, and what's going on. But he's talking about, again, after Stormlight 5, that's where he's going to sort of fill in a lot of the projects that have been
kind of sitting
for a while. And that's
Yeah,
where
because
we get...
he said earlier, like with Elantris and Warbreaker and some other ones, and what was it? Arithmetist, where like they nothing's really happened with them right now, and they'll probably get looked at again.
And then
after
Mistborn
Stormlight
Era
5.
3, which
Yes,
I'm looking forward to some 1980s spycraft Mistborn stuff going on.
it's gonna be crazy.
Robert Rustford.
What?
Robert Rustford to play the main character instead
Wow.
of Redford.
Wow. I have no response. Six of the Dust
Awe
sequel.
is the appropriate response.
Well, and the other thing is, of course, that because this is Brandon, he's like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to fit in the middle of all those, but that's the plan. I'm
Yeah.
just like, because,
And he's like, yeah,
we expect authors to fit extra stuff in between these huge
you got to fill in the
series.
cracks of
Well,
like
'cause-
when they're paused from writing, got to write something else.
Nothing on here is listing about mainframe and the stuff that they're doing, and he's he crapped out Emperor's Soul on
He
a
did not.
vacation.
I don't like that description for Emperor's Soul because
It's a lovely
See,
book.
It's perfect.
It
for
was
me,
not
'cause
defecated.
He poops gold Brandon does it. And he belches symphonies.
Oh boy.
No, but but like he does that like, and I think most people agree on some level that Emperor's Soul is probably his best technical writing he's done as far as just as an actual art form.
Yes.
And he did that on a vacation. He could pump out something because like right now I look at this and I'm like, crap, not another Cosmere till 2022, and that's what Jordan's
like, I worked to finish to finish reading one of his books on vacation.
Yes. Well, I mean, think about that. Like, we all struggled to, read the Rhythm of War in 1 week so we could do the episode. On the plus side, looking at the schedule, it looks like we only have to do that once every 2 years. And like, okay, that's a we can do that once every 2 years. That's acceptable.
Yeah, I need to reread it again now.
Oh yeah, it's a bit
because I'll see people discussing things and I'm like, how did I miss that detail? I caught this other one over here that they did, but I missed this one over here.
The reason you missed it is you were just like, no, gotta go fast, gotta finish,
gotta keep reading, gotta read this in a week.
Yeah, I'm listening to the audiobook again now, so for my second read.
I keep listening to another podcast, but
keep listening to podcasts. I can be behind that.
Yeah. What I'm
guys,
listening to is
there's so much. Even in 2020, there's so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, I think one of the things he mentioned was that he's like, it was kind of nice not having to tour because he couldn't really go anywhere. He's like, so it meant I was able to do lots of writing, but yeah, it was nice that we got something out of it, that he did more writing, lots of writing still, even if we didn't get to do other things.
The one thing he didn't put in here that I was surprised was, I think it was this year where he had the big discussion of what is it people want from me on tours, because he was starting to run into the problems of he's spending too much time.
I think that was the last date of the Sanderson he asked.
Yes.
Was it? That's what he did. He asked with the poll then.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was one of those things that I thought was very interesting that he didn't bring it up again, because he didn't really have a way to test it, the results of that poll this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just one of those things. It's just like, I love seeing him sitting here and considering.
Yeah.
Just, he has more ideas than he probably can write.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I love that he recognizes, because I love that he recognizes the scale of what he wants to do, and realizes he can't do it alone. And so he's built a team around him that can do all sorts of stuff. And he's continuing to build that team in different aspects, working with different agencies or building this production aspect that he's doing.
Yeah.
I love that he recognizes what he wants to do early so he can build that so he can do what he wants.
Mm-hmm. And we will gobble it up.
That said, when it comes to video games, I want Insomniac, the people who made the PS4 Spider-Man game, I want them to make Mistborn. I'm putting that on the record. This is what I want. Anybody who can make this happen who's listening, please do me this favor. Make this happen for me.
I've got what I want the video game to be. I want the video game to be all about Gemmel.
No, I just want Mistborn.
It can be Joe Bob Mistborn, and we're
I want more lore. Just give me more lore.
Anyway, this is what I want. So,
really want.
Any other thoughts before we start wrapping things up? We'll have time for final thoughts later, but just anything that I've kind of missed.
I think
there's one thing that I wanted to talk about that we did miss. Picture books.
We talked about picture books.
we did.
Did we talk about The Girl Who Looked Up? Did I miss that?
We didn't talk
We did-
specifics.
we just said
I'd
we
love
were
to talk
excited
more
about it.
about that because I am so excited about this.
Hoyd's stories are perfect for little kids' picture books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful stories. I mean, The Dog and the Dragon, I don't want to go into anything spoilers because we've said this isn't really going to be a spoiler episode, but I was sobbing at the end of that story. And it's just wonderful. It's something I needed.
I've seen different art that people put up on Instagram, and it's just
beautiful.
like every time it's like, oh Yes, keep doing it.
Well, the other reason I like it is, I don't have kids, but I have siblings who have kids that I'm trying to constantly get into the Cosmere. What a better way to incept the idea that they should be reading the Cosmere, being like, this is what he does. And they're like, oh, this is beautiful. Yes, it is.
And I also want, Jordan, or not Jordan, the thing that I really like is you can tell Bran is just like, okay, I'm dominating the epic fantasy genre. Now I got to reach into science fiction. It's not enough. We'll go for the children.
We'll take the children.
It's a smart move.
That's so. Oh, I'm really, really looking forward to picture books on the Hoyd stories, because that also means probably if they want to build a line of these, that means more Hoyd stories, and I want more Hoyd stories.
Give me the hearts. I wonder if they'd even do some that weren't in the prose books, but just those.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But yeah,
We're back.
I'm looking forward to it.
So it'll be party.
And I want to know who's involved in. Is it going to be Isaac? Are they going to pull in?
Pull in
who are they
other
going to pull in
cool
for the
artists?
artists?
Then
Because they have lots of
We
options.
can start getting crossovers between The Girl Who Looked Up and Monsters Don't Wear Underpants, and we can create a children's story universe.
Monsters don't look up underpants.
That's a good thing for monsters not to do. Monsters need to keep their family-friendly rating.
Yes.
Serge Binder says, not another multiverse.
No, too many to keep track of.
Everything is a multiverse.
All right. Well, we do love listening, or we do love hearing from our listeners, so please keep on sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your ideas for topics you'd like us to discuss during the show. And while you're at it, we'd love to hear your feedback about how you think we're doing, as well as any interesting theories you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. You can send all questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and we could read that as part of the show. Or if you prefer to send us a physical letter, we do have a P.O. Box at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We do have personal projects outside of the podcast. So, Jordan, where can we find your work?
You can find me at twitch.tv/splicestream. I've been playing a lot of XCOM recently because I have done Amiibo for a long time, but I'm excited to announce that the Professional Amiibo League is about to come back. So if you're someone who collects children's toys that you can train how to fight, check me out. You might want to play because things are about to get a lot of fun. I would say lit, but, I'm 35 and clearly not zoned for that.
And Amy, you have, I believe, something to say about your work or something adjacent to your work.
Yes. So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is at Coincidence Cosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is at coincidence_cosplay, and my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. And just to add another .com at you, except this one isn't actually a .com, it's a .io. My husband programs, and he is trying to do a side gig type, hopefully make this his job in the future. And he has made a website, and it is live, and it's called Deckplan. And it's deckplan.io. So it's still a pretty new website. It's only been up for a couple days, but they let you build decks. They let you manage and track your collection. You can look through and find different cards through like all the Magic cards. As far as I know, I think they have like all of them in there in the category. And for right now, it's signing up is really pretty cheap. They have I think it's $1.99 if you do want to have a paid subscription. What?
Oh.
What? Free. Yeah. Oh, sorry. My husband's informed me there is a free option as well. So you don't have to pay, but you can do a paid version as well.
A premium version.
Premium, yes. I have words. Words work. Yes, I'm great at advertising. So They have a Discord server. They have a Reddit. They have a Twitter. Their Twitter is at deckplan_io. And they're hoping to have more and more features built in. And I think, did I not pull it up? Oh, so they're planning to have lots of cool features, and I'm sure I will have better descriptions in the future. But yes, if you like Magic the Gathering and you'd like to support and check out his website, it's there. It's deckplan.io. So yes, this is Amy advertising. Ta-da!
Cool. And as for myself, I do have another podcast with my friend Dylan. We talk about board games on the Innkeeper's Table, and new episodes come out on Friday mornings. You can find it on pretty much any major podcast site, so go ahead and listen to us there, or check out our Instagram page at Innkeeper's Table Podcast, which has kind of been stagnant for a while. I do need to get that updated soon. Our most recent episode, though, it was about gaming at the workplace and with coworkers without getting in trouble, not in ways that will get you fired. And this week, we're going to be talking about a few game designers that have name recognition within the hobby. I've got several board game reviews over on www.innkeeperstable.com, and I post about games on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Innkeeper's Table. Again, that one is also kind of stagnant. I need to get that one updated as well. If you want to listen to the show, of course, we have the podcast version. We also are over on YouTube. Feel free to follow us on all of our social media accounts and leave comments. All of those are at Cosmere Studies. Any final thoughts before we disappear for the night, though?
I like that he communicates with us so much, but we've already said that so many times that it feels kind of like I'm just repeating and repeating and repeating. And I'm excited for all the cool things that are coming out. So,
always.
Yes.
It's important to never get too entitled with it just because he is so amazing. But this is the last stream of the year.
By 2020.
Yeah. And we don't have Brandon watched this year because Brandon's not racing to finish a Stormlight book. But hopefully...
I'll say this for 2020. It was an interesting year with Brandon. I pray he never releases a novella and a Stormlight archive back to back ever again, because holy crap, that was hectic.
It
Just
was, but my gosh.
It was great.
Like,
a little breathing room would
was
be really
decadent.
nice.
It was great, but oh my goodness, it was so hectic.
It's like eating a feast and then finding out there's a giant dessert that you really want and you don't have any time in between.
Except that you ate dessert first.
Yes, it was dessert first. Anyway, but either way, it was a lot and it was amazing.
I just want to say again, happy Koloss Head-Munching Day to all.
Yes.
And to all a good bite.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Thank you.
The English
I just came up with that off the top
paying
of my head. Let's see. For those of you who came and watched us live, thank you very much. It's always more fun with our viewers live in the Twitch chat over here on twitch.tv/InnkeepersTable. We record every other week on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. You can also find the videos over on YouTube, and you can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, pretty much anywhere else the podcasts are hosted just by searching for Cosmere Studies. If you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, please comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on Brandon's future projects. You can find us everywhere under the profile at Cosmere Studies. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for the show, email them to us at cosmerestudies@gmail.com. For the next episode, we are going to be focusing on the character who got the second most votes in our poll, Queen Navani Kholin. If you haven't done so before, we highly recommend you make it to the live recording so you can geek out with the rest of us in chat. So join us for our first episode of the new year on January 4th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/InnkeepersTable. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's always
always
another secret.
another secret.